All right, guys, so this week we're talking about the characteristics of the solar system, and I decided to pull the moon out for us to talk about because next year you're going to be learning more about the moon in 8th grade, so I thought this would give you a little bit more information to take with you for next year. So let's talk about some key points about our moon. Our moon orbits the Earth, and the moon doesn't produce its own light. It reflects sunlight from the sun. Why does the moon have phases? Because of revolution. The revolution of the moon around the Earth causes the moon to appear to have different phases. And those phases can last 5 to 6 days before it goes off to another phase. The lunar month is about 29.5 days it takes to go from the new moon to the next new moon. During the lunar month, the moon goes through all of its phases. So here's the key question. Can you have 2 full moons in a month? And the answer is yes, because we do have months that have 31 days. So if you've ever heard anybody say, oh, that happens once in a blue moon, well, when you have a full moon, 2 of them in 1 month, that's called a blue moon. So that just means it happens very rarely. It doesn't happen a lot. You have 4 main shapes to the moon. You have full, crescent, quarter, and gibbous. You also have what is called waxing and waning. Waxing means that the moon is growing, and if the moon is getting brighter from the right, it is waxing. So we have a saying, light on the right, moon waxing bright. And that saying is going to become your best friend in 8th grade. Waning means the moon is shrinking. If the moon is dark on the right, it's waning, so it's getting smaller. Okay, here are all of our moon phases. For starting over here, we have a new moon, which means that no sunlight is being reflected. And as you see, we're getting bigger and bigger, so this is our waxing until we get to a full moon. Then once we get to the full moon, we start waning. And so we're getting smaller until we're back to that new moon. And that takes about 29.5 days. How can you determine which phase the moon is? First, you got to look at which side's illuminated. If the right side's illuminated, it's waxing. If the left side's illuminated, it's waning. Or if it is illuminated totally, that's a full moon. Or if there's no illumination at all, it's a new moon. Sometimes a new moon, though, can have a little bit of illumination around the edges, and that's still a new moon. Step 2, you look at the shape and you decide if it's a full, quarter, which is half, crescent, which is less than half, or a gibbous, which is more than half. And if you have a waxing quarter, that's called a first quarter. And if you have a waning quarter, that's called a third quarter. So let's practice. Let's look at this picture over here to the side, this illustration. If the right side is illuminated, it's waxing. If the left side is illuminated, it's waning. Or if it's all illuminated, it's full. Or if there's no illumination at all, it's a new moon. So it looks like to me that it's illuminated on the left side. Okay, so now we know that we have a waning moon. So look at the shape and decide if it's a full, quarter, which is half, crescent, which is less than half, or gibbous, which is more than half. And it looks like to me, it looks like a crescent. So we would have a waning crescent. So that moon right there is a waning crescent moon. Okay, here's another one for you to look at. So I'll give you a little bit of time to look at it. See which side is illuminated, and then see how much of it's illuminated. So it's the left side, so it's going to be waning, and it's half of it, so it's going to be a quarter. And remember we said if it was a waning quarter, the other name for it was called a third quarter. Okay, I'm going to go through a couple. I'm not going to tell you what the answers are. I'm just going to let you look at them. So here's your first one. Remember, look at what side and then how much of it. Remember to look at what side and how much of it is lit. Okay, what side and how much of it is lit. And then here's your last one. No, there's not a last one. Okay, guys, so those are the phases of the moon. So now you can go outside